Welcome back to part 5, servicing multiple trough pastures. And we left off where the additives button should have been highlighting, but it wasn't. Not sure exactly why. The reason for that is I do want to show you how the calculations are working. So I'm looking at trough 65, and this 24 gallons that are in this trough, these already have additive in them. So we're going to fill it to 108. First off, they're eating 1.77, so let's bitter them up. I don't know, 5%. So go to 70%. And when I click on the additives, it should actually be telling me what I added last time, but we'll go ahead and fill it out again. Now you notice, if you remember last time, it said to add 37.5 gallons, and that was based on a half dose for the full amount that's in the trough. But since we have those 24 gallons with additive already in them, we just need to add 29 ounces of additive to get us the difference between 108 and 24 to add additives to that amount. So the calculation is still working as it's intended. We're going to add our 29 ounces of additive. If we want to, we can just put a note over here that says, we put in 0.5 dose of mag. And that'll show up alongside here. I'm not paying attention. That's supposed to be a 0.5, not a question mark 5. So we'll change that. So we added a half dose of mag with this service, and I'll go ahead and tap on the save for this trough. For my second trough, trough 43, so I already entered 10 gallons for my trough contents. Let's go ahead and pull forward our target ratio. It was, I believe, 60 last time. Let's bitter this one up 5% as well. And now when I click on additives based on 108 gallons, I have 10 gallons in there, but none of these gallons have additive because back here in this service I didn't select additives with it. So it should give me the 37.5 total amount to add based on a dry mag and a half dose. And it does. So the calculations are all working right. I'm not sure why that highlight issue was showing up. We'll look into that. It was working fine the other day. The other thing I can do here is if we actually want to move them up to full mag at this point. Rather than click the half dose, I will switch it to a full grass tetany dose, which basically in this situation doubles the amount of additive to put in for these gallons. So I'll save this and close, and maybe I'll go into my notes and put a full mag note just to remind me. I'll go ahead and hit save, and I'll go back to that previous trough and we'll change that, edit it. And okay, I've got my icon highlighting, tells me I put some additives in with this service, and I added 29 for a half dose, but now I want to go back and change it to a full dose. Oop, I'm getting carried away here. I didn't want to do that, so I'll just hit the trash can on that, and it asks me, do you want to delete this second row that I unintentionally made? Yes. Okay, and now you can see the first row I've actually changed it to a full dose, and it's not exactly double. Remember, it was 29 before, but it's actually saying 65 now. And the reason it's not just double 29, so it's not saying 58 here, is because we're at a full dose of grass tetany for this amount. I will go ahead and close that. And these 24 gallons actually had enough mag in them for a half dose. So we need to add enough mag here to bring these up to a full dose, plus enough mag to cover the rest of it up to 108. So that's where the 65 comes in. So it calculates based on what your last inclusion rate was and what your new inclusion rate is, and tells you how much additive total to bring the entire trough contents up to the new inclusion rate, which I should change this note to read a full mag dose for this service. And now we will go ahead and tap the save button, and there's our last two services. We'll show all, shows our previous services. And one more time, I'd like to go back to the home page, tap on home, and we'll just service this pasture again. Coming in here, of course, it pops up. We need to change our service date, so we'll back that off to April. Last time was the 17th, so let's roll ahead about 7 days from there. Okay, now we're getting our additives icon showing up. That's what I should expect to see the next time I come back. However, what I'd like to do is show a couple examples, or at least one example here. Let's say, I get back there to trough contents. Well, this one's up at, let's see, something high, so 85. And I'll go ahead and save, and I'll go get my other trough and enter its trough contents. So let's put this one at 79. Okay. So in this example, they only 0.9 average, which was a long ways away from 1.77. I didn't bitter them up that much. What's going on here? Not sure. So maybe I go talk, or I call the rancher, and he says, "Oh yeah, when that storm moved in last week, we pulled all those pears out of that pasture in closer to the barn for, let's say, 2 days, and then, well, it was a little stormy that next day, so we didn't let them off. So they were actually out of that pasture away from the troughs for 4 days, or for 3 days. So right now my calculations are based on 185 head and 7 days. If that were true, the 8.19. However, now that we know that's false, I don't know if you caught that, but let me cancel here. I just tap on right in here, and it brings up a little quick edit screen. So I can go in here and change this to the number of days they were actually there. Let's say it's 4, and the 8.34, which they still didn't eat that much. So, well, here we are at a 70% ratio, 8.34. Maybe some of the mag I put in here added to the bitterness, and they're starting to back away, and I want to get ahead of them. So let's say I really want to change this target ratio by a bunch. I want to get ahead of these cows. I want to drop it, hypothetically down to 40%. And so at 40%, it says I need to fill with bitter to 69 and then up to 108. Well, if you notice, we had 85 in there, and I'm supposed to fill it to 69, and it's telling me right here there's a little negative sign. I'm supposed to add negative 16 gallons of bitter. Well, I can't do that. So this is a situation where if we need to change the ratio that much and we're getting a negative value here, we can hit the pump key, and so in this example, 10 days of feed, we're at 85. We want a target ratio of 40%. It's telling me to pump out. Well, for right here it says I'm pumping out. Yep, I want to take out some of the mixed. So I'll take out 23 gallons down to 62. And on the stick, so I'll measure the trough. When it gets to 62, I'll shut the pump off. Then I'll pump in 108 gallons of sweet. Excuse me. So I get out and I start to do that, and I don't quite get the pump shut off, so this actually ends up being 60 gallons. So what I can do is come back in here, adjust my head days to something, maybe something a little more will work. So 10 point, well, let's go with 1 days. That didn't do it. Let me try something else. So let's go to 10.5 and try that. Okay, my numbers are going up. I was 108, now I'm at 113. This is getting higher. I want to go the other way. So I'll go down to 9.5. Okay, now I'm too low, so I'll try it one more time, somewhere in between. And I can just keep playing with this number until I get, okay, there's where it's at. Now this is where I am actually in my trough level, so I can just fill to 105 with sweet, and it's not quite 108, but that's okay. I've got my mixture right, I'm good to go, and click save. And I can do it with the other trough as well. Change my service date. And you notice once I change my service date down here, oh wait, they really hadn't ate that little of amount. They'd ate this amount. So once again, you want to make sure you have your service dates all the same before you start changing things. And typically that isn't a problem, because typically you are making this service on the actual date that pulls in here, so you won't need to change them. But when you're trying to build dates, put logs in here that happened in the past, maybe you're converting your paper records over, it's easy to get these mixed up. So now you know about the pump out function. We could do it to this one as well. Right here, our additives is highlighting, so we can click on that. It says to add 19.5 ounces of additive on this service. So we can fill this one. Maybe want to, in this example, maybe we don't want to pump any out, but what we really want to do is just fill with bitter. We don't want to put any bitter in. We just want to put straight sweet in. So I'll just change this bitter to exactly the trough contents that are here. So type 79 in there. And it says, well, if this is staying at 65 and I put 79 here, I can't add any sweet or it will change my ratio. But I really do want to change my ratio. So now I can just adjust my ratio to something else, call it, something less. Let's go with 45. Okay, at 45%, I'm not adding any bitter, and if I fill with sweet to 114, that will give me the right ratio, a sweeter ratio. I'm not putting any bitter in, I'm just putting all sweet in, sweeten it up as much as I can without pumping. You can see right here that the 108 tells me that based on this many days and 185 head, I should only have to put 108 in, but 114 is where 45% put me. I can look at my additives again. My additives have gone up. Since now I'm going to 114, I need more additive. That's okay, and we're good to go. We can click save. Okay, and now I'd like to come back and show just one more service. So I'll go to the home screen, I'll click service. I will change my service date to the proper date, April. Let's go to the 30. Well, you notice that I tried to go to the 31st. I can go to the 1st and go to the 30th. If I try and put it on the 31st, it snaps back. It knows there's only 30 days in April. So that's what's going on there. We'll save that one. Enter my trough contents. You know, maybe they came back with a vengeance. There's only 6 left in this one. And we'll go ahead and hit save. And we'll edit this one. And change it to April 30th as well. Let's say this one is actually empty. And the one thing you'll notice over here is the suggested is staying at 114. So anytime actually in one of these previous services, if I fill a trough above the recommended amount, it go ahead and pulls that extra amount forward. And that only happens when it's over the recommended amount. If I would have filled it to 96 last time, it would have advised me to fill it to 108 this time. If I filled it to 114 last time, if I want to go back to 108, I can just type in here 108. And you notice the little number disappears because this is exactly where I need to be. So I just wanted to show you that. If you ever fill a trough above the recommended amount based on the number of head, it will adjust it here or will retain that value for your services going forward, but it does show you that with the little number. So that's how you know whether it's the actual head days or whether it's your last fill amount that's being pulled forward. So I'll go ahead and tap on save. And the other thing we can look at here is, okay, going back to my first trough number 65. This one has my head days shown by it and my averages. So we can go in here and, you know, maybe they loaded 40 pairs out of this pasture. So we can change this to 145 and click OK. Tap OK, and 2 things happen. One, you'll notice my average changed. So now, if we're only 145 head in there, my average is down to 2.64. Well, you know, maybe over these 6 days, you know, maybe that 185 head was in here for 3 of them. And then they took the 40 head out, so the 145 head was in here for 3 of these days. So you can kind of do a weighted average. If you had the actual way, if you have a calculator, you want to calculate out, you would take however many head you had times the number of days, and then they were in there, so 185 times 3, and then the 145 times 3. Add those 2 numbers together and then divide by 6. So you take, you find your actual head days by adding your head times your days and adding them together, and then you would divide by the total number of days. So one way, you know, there is an iPod calculator app that you can download, so you have a calculator. For some reason, the actual iPad does not come with a built-in calculator, and it's asking me for a bunch of other things. That's not what I wanted. Sorry about that. So going back here, you have your calculator. You would take 185 times 3 and 145 times 3, add those two numbers together, and since they're both in there times 3, it's actually just the average of the head. So let's say there was 165 or 63. What would it be? 65. Right in the middle between 185 and 45. I'll say that's close enough for this service. So actually, they ate 2.3 pounds. So I'll adjust my mix percentages based on that. Maybe I'll run this back up, 3% or whatever you guys would do in this situation. However, now it's telling me I only need 96 gallons in here. Well, if I change this to 145, it'll tell me I only need 84 gallons in here. So I can look at this number here, and based on the number of days for this many head, this is how far I should fill it, the suggested amount. So I want to change this back to 165, because that's how many average head were actually in here for these 6 days. So this is my correct consumption. But I don't want to put out 96 gallons or 105. I maybe only want to put out 84, since that would be the proper amount for the new head. And I can put a note over here that says, we're down to 145 head. So this number here is an average number of cattle that were in there for these days. This is how many head were in here actually when I serviced the trough. So I can keep track of it that way, and I drop my amount to fill the trough to, so I don't put a lot of extra feed in if there's only 145 head in there. So hope that's a useful feature that all of you can find a way to utilize as you're servicing pastures where they're actually adjusting the number of head on you from week to week and doing it midweek. And so I filled that trough to 84. I'll come in here, type 84 in this trough, and maybe I want to leave this one where it's at. Maybe I want to bitter it, so I'll change it up to 48%, touch away. You'll notice my 84 stays there, my 40's here, and we are good to go. I'll go ahead and click save. Something's going wrong with my screen there for some reason. I really don't like this calculator app. I think it's causing me some problems. So what I did there is I didn't tap on it, but I just touched and held my finger on it. And you'll notice all the apps start, and it's that little X in app. So I will close that, and it says delete the calculator iPad, and delete it. Yes. Okay. So now they're all shake home button, and they'll go iPad. Looking quite need to select the Windows, hit the little X. So what I did there is I closed this iBos file. I'm still in the FileMaker Go app. If I touch my home screen, that's how I get out of it. So here are my files in the app. I have iBos, and I have my archives from 2014 that I can open if I want to view what I did last year. Let's try and open this one more time and see if that blue screen disappears. I'm back to my home page because I closed it, so I'll open it back up. Look here, click on view, and there we go. Everything is right there as it was when I left. And if I didn't get my changes made, I could go in and tap on them once and edit them, and there they are. So and I'll go ahead and cancel this, and that pretty much concludes, I believe, all the items I wanted to showcase for servicing multiple troughs. So thank you for your viewing of this, and hope that helps.